Hey, how you guys doing? All right, let's do this to it. Okay. All right. So bishop takes e6. We're one move away from checkmate. We just have to somehow distract the queen. Let's see here. There's really three moves that could be played. Excuse me. There's rook takes a4 check. Or rook b7, or rook a4 might be played. Those four moves. I really want to play knight. My main goal is knight to e5, or knight e3. Sorry, I want to play knight e3. But the problem is knight e3 and queen takes e3. Let's check the takes line out. Rook takes e4. Rook takes e4, check. Forced is king f5, that's a forced move. Rook takes e6. If queen takes a3, there's really nothing I can do. Do you guys have any ideas? No, you don't have any ideas? Okay, since the checking idea doesn't give us anything, let's check rook to a4. Rook a4. If queen c5, queen c5, okay, so if that doesn't work, let's try rook b7. Queen takes a3. Rook g7. 7 check. King f5. 5. And then rook g5. Mate, let me see if that works. Okay, b7. Queen takes a3. So b7. Queen takes a3. Rook g7 check. King f5, and then rook to g5. Yeah, it's rook b7. So now if we check here and he takes, we can come down here and mate. I'll show you the other line. Surprisingly, that got 53% right. That's good. Like here and here. If we play here, he takes there, and then it's checkmate. So yeah, we're doing good. Just gotta take your time. Take your time. Don't rush. Don't give up, and always keep moving forward. It was kind of funny. That was our last. That was the last one on the list, and the least one I thought was going to actually work. I actually didn't think that one was going to work, but it's a good thing we went over each one of our lines to make sure. Okay. So knight to a5. Alright. Hey, how you doing? Morphe's Revenge. So the knight, what did the knight give up? Basically, the knight gave up g4, g5, h4, knight, d2, e1, and potentially g2. So bishop takes. I guess that would work, wouldn't it? Yeah. Let's see. Does he have any continuation? Let's see. Bishop. I don't really see anything. Bishop takes. He takes. He could try after we take moving the king, but I think that still loses. Bishop takes d5. If king h1, king h1. You always gotta think about this. King h1, and then bishop takes g3. F takes g3. Queen takes g3. So yeah. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any checks or anything. Is there any checks, any counter attack? Let me see. If he plays queen to defend the bishop, we could just take it. So there. Just making sure there's nothing missed. I really don't see that we missed anything. Yeah, we'd be more than happy to trade off in that line. Then we're up material. Yeah. And then I guess do we want to take? I think that's the best move. Whoa, 1200. Who would have thunk? There we go. uh, well, we'll try to get, yeah. That's what I was looking at. Yeah, C3 is interesting. That's a line. Or there's bishop takes. I'm just throwing out some bishop takes B2 is an interesting line. I think that's about, those are the two that I can see that potentially have any teeth to them. Rotates B5. Rotates B5. The only problem with bishop takes B2 is queen takes D6. That's the only thing I see that's the problem. And the only problem with C3 that I see is, again, queen takes D6. So those are the two responses that are that could be potentially playable. Because C3 I don't think hurts him. I think it actually helps our opponent if we play C3. Because then he grabs the pawn. And now let's look at rook to B5. Rook takes B5. A takes B5. Queen take. Well, we're gonna have to push at that point. We'll have to push. So we'd probably have to go at that point. C3. C3. Queen takes D6. Maybe C3 is not the best move. Maybe queen takes b5 is the best move at that point. I'm just a little concerned about if in that line let me see here. B5. My only concern potentially is C3. With our opponent plays C3. Maybe it's a mix of bishop takes b2, queen takes d6, rook takes b5, a takes b5, oops, queen takes b5, and we do have a discovery threat there and a potential mate. Yeah. That's kind of you have to sometimes think of these combinational moves when you get to the 25 or 24 all the way up to 26 level. All right. See if he takes at this point, the king takes, that'd be a really bad move. We can't allow our opponent to take, so ugh. Arg. Yeah. Yeah, C3 does, so let's give C3 an opportunity. Queen takes D6. Rook takes B5. A takes B5. Queen takes B5. B3. And I think he shuts everything down at that point. We might be able to make it, maybe with potentially. Wait, no, I don't know if that would actually. Let's see, there. Hmm. Hmm. What would Morphe do? Well, it's not no, but you have to. It's more of a reactive move, and you have to when it comes down to opportunities like this. It's not a bad move. We just have to find the proper continuation because White wants to play Queen takes D6. He wants to play. That's what White wants to do, and if White can get that in, he's neutralized a lot of our queen threat on the king, and we have to make sure that we don't allow that to happen. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, we're working on this really tough puzzle. Thanks. Oh, you are funny. That would be an interesting thing to have one that long. You'd need a pretty big tree for that. Let's go. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, here we go. Let's see, bishop. What we're looking at, yeah. Yeah, chess is where it's at for sure. B2. This is what we're thinking of right here. Queen takes d6. Oops. Queen takes d6, and I don't. This is the tough spot right here because our queen's attacked at this point, and we have to be. Maybe we can move the queen, but I doubt if we take if it's a good idea. We do remove a pawn in front of the king, but that doesn't help really much anything. So it's like, for real, because this is like a 2600 level puzzle around this one. So it has like a multitude of combinations in it, like a clearance sacrifice, or a sacrifice, maybe a clearance, all those different types of things, a discovery. There's a whole bunch when you reach, when you go past the 22 to 2400 level puzzles on chess.com. So it's not just an one move idea. It branches off into like 3 different types, because an idea, there's these ideas. C3 is an idea. Bishop takes b2 is an idea, and rook, we even looked at rook takes b5. These are ideas that could potentially be played. C3, and we calculated c3 doesn't turn out the way we like it, because c3 and then queen takes d6. Oops, let me make sure I get d6 right. So bishop c3, queen takes c3, rook takes, he takes queen, but that doesn't. He's guarding at that point. He probably he's not. We can't really do anything after we give up our bishop. That's the sad thing. Very sad. It's like. Boy, because if there wasn't a rook on e1, we could do a really nice potentially here, but I doubt that would work. Boy, this is a tough one. Let's see, bishop takes b2, queen takes c6, rook takes b5, a takes b5, queen takes b5. If the king goes to a2, then queen takes a4 check. If he goes back, then bishop to c3 check. And if he goes to c1, then you have queen a4. So I think I got the idea. Let's try this. Bishop takes b2. Let's work this out. All right. Hooray. Okay, b takes. Let's see. Queen takes d6. Rook takes b5. A takes b5. Queen takes b5. Well, he doesn't really have. He might try playing queen d8. That's kind of the only way to stop the move, because our bishop's good. Everything's good. I really don't see anything. Well, maybe he can retreat his queen back after that. He might be able to. Let me see something here. Hold on. After b5, he might be able to play queen a3 at that point. Nope, queen a3 is impossible because of bishop. Queen a3 is impossible because our bishop's on b2. So I believe it is. I don't know how to draw arrows on this. Okay. Boy, Boy, I don't know how to draw arrows on this. Because every time I try to draw an arrow, it moves a piece. I'll right click. But that's only good. Yeah, hold on, because I gotta tell you, I think it only works in. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, let's do it. There we go. Oh, yes. 2788. Yes. I knew it was a 2788. Let's go in and calculate. It only works in this mode here when you're doing calculation mode. This is the reason why it works. Right here. And it takes, and he's gonna have to he'll have to go like rook d5 and queen b3 or queen a3. Let me see here. Hold on. Trying to work this out. Let me see. Because here and let's see. It takes, and then bishop takes, and you win. See, I'll show you the lines why this doesn't work here for one reason. It's not that it's a bad move. If takes, then what happens is if we take here, he can just play b3 and then he's safe. He's locked down our attack. So that's the reason that one doesn't work. And let me see here. This one has a problem because b5 and then c3, like what we talked about, it blunts this attack and the queen then guards here. There. Let me see here. Oops. Okay, we went over. Yeah. I think that's it. We had this line here. We talked about taking here, and then we did this. So this loses because after that, we'll go over it one more quick time, then we'll get on to the other puzzles. And after this, bishop takes. You're gonna basically have to take. After rook takes, b takes, and he's locked down. Yes, we have a passed pawn, but this knight's gonna be a headache trying to get rid of it. So you do win a pawn in that line, but let's see here. Now with this line, he has a takes and then c3, and now we already talked about that's covered by the queen, so we lost a piece. And then let's show the line again on here. Rook takes a, pawn takes here, and then what you do is you play bishop check, rook takes, and then when the king moves up here, you grab and you're up a piece. Oh, what does the bishop say about e3 or e5? c3. It's a draw. It's a draw at that point. you'd have to basically try to double up again, but I don't know. The queen guards that, and this is under fire, so it's going to be interesting. It still is okay for black, but the best, you have to go for always the best move. So it wasn't a bad move. It just wasn't the move that was like the devastating crunch attack. But congrats on the 2788. That was a super grandmaster puzzle. Great job. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they were still, except for I think the rook takes one was the rook takes. I don't know if that one actually was a positive one or not for white. Oh, you do? I like chess puzzles too. Okay, so king h5. I can only really draw arrows on the analysis board, so you're just gonna, you gotta bear with me. Like, I'll write in the moves, and then we can go over them and talk about it. So, oops, I better put my cursor thing there so that it. So sometimes if you don't have your cursor in there and you try like pushing enter, it takes you out back to the main page, and you potentially could have solved the puzzle, but because of that, you lose the opportunity to get points. So that wouldn't be fun. Okay, so king h5. Now back to work. Okay, what would potentially be good ideas for well, there's bishop, there's rook h8. That's a possible idea. Check. Or let me see here, there's h3. That's an idea as well. h3 and bishop and rook c and rook h8. See, the reason I'm thinking potentially knight, well, you have to, if you did knight g7, he could, knight g7 only has one stitch to it. Knight g7 check. You give up the g5 square. You give up the, yeah. Well, the Lord's given me an ability to teach, and I enjoy doing it. So I'm glad you guys. I'm glad y'all like it. But the only problem with knight to g7 check is it gives up the king, the g5 square. So king could go to g5, and then you lose. See, the king's in a box right now, Viking, and you want to keep your king in a box. So if we checked with rook to h8, there's one square that the king could go to. One square. It's the g4 square. See, if we were to cut off the g4 square and then check with our rook, which I know you all see what h3 guards. H3 would guard the g4 square, and then the king would only have the ability of moving to h4, and in that line we can actually mate with rook to h8. So I'm thinking h3 is potentially the move. So if h3, and let's say our opponent gets greedy and goes, I'm going to gobble your c1 bishop, we play rook to h8, and then it's mate. They would be mate at that point because the knight guards g5, the g5 square, and the g7 square. The pawn that was on h2 went to h3, and now it guards g4, and so there's no squares for the king to leave. So then when we check, we win. But you have to now at that point, h3. H3, G takes F4, clearing G for. Interesting. Interesting. G, see, so H3 gives him a chance. Then let's take a look at the rook. Rook H8. Then let's see what. Let's see if we go for the attack. What potentially could happen in that line? Well, King G4 would be playable there. Let's say he did take. Hold on, let's try. Let's see what happens if he did take. G takes F5. Rook H6 check. King to G6. We have Rook H6 check. King F7. Knight G5 check. If King E7. Yeah, that is a problem, isn't it? Well, there's a way to handle it if we push, but I don't know if pushing's a great idea. We could potentially go F6. F6. Maybe. Then Rook takes C1. F7. Rook F1 check. King, we'll say G7, not G7. King E7. We'll say King E2. King E2. King E2. So it might be a draw on that line. He might try queening. If he queens at that point, we can actually queen as well. I think it's a draw though. Both bishop g5 and king g3 threaten mate in 1, yeah. But remember that he has g takes f5. He's got g takes f5 as well, so. Our knight is under attack too. True. Let's see, f6. Rook takes c1. Rook h8 check. King g4. F7. But I don't think, yeah, let's see here, g4. That was what I was thinking, so I'm not sure. Do we, let's see if we, okay, f takes g. Can he stop it though with knight? Can he stop that with knight to f6 though? That's the one thing that you have to keep in consideration. That is true. Yeah, so what you're saying is, let's see, let's take a look at this. What if rook takes c1 though? What do we do if he plays rook takes c1, and then I know what you're thinking. We're gonna that rook takes c1, then we're going to take his knight, right? That I see what you're saying. Rook takes f6. But then he's got this really nice trying to queen, excuse me, trying to get his queen queened is this. Rook to f1 check. And then he skewers our rook. But guess what happens? He actually queens though. He queens in that line. He'll go c1 equals queen check, and that's the problem. If we take, he'll go queen queen c1 equals queen. C1 equals queen check, and that's a. I'm trying to see. We also have knight d4. Let's see if we go king. Let's try this one. King g3. King g3. Let's just take a look at this. So potentially, let's see, king g3. Phew. Let's see. I have to try this h3. If f takes g5, or sorry, g takes f5, rook g8. So no, I don't think that works. Let's see if we go g take or f takes g6, rook takes c1, g7. That is true. I see. I think you're Let's check out knight g7 check. It might be that easy actually. Let me see. Knight g7 check. Let's say king g4, king g4, oops, g4, and then rook to e1. Interesting. King g3 where? King g3. You gotta always look for the most forcing line. I dislike these. Sometimes these 2700 level puzzles are like, pains, but they have a thing. They have a thing to them, so. Hey, play the grub. Do you have an idea on this puzzle here? I think you're on the right. You're on the right. Knight. Yeah, but I'm thinking. No, he can't, can he? So. Knight g7 check. King g4, rook e4 check. King h3. Let's see, do we have any continuation there? That would be that is interesting. The only problem with g3 though is he does have like rook g1 check. That's a potential sitch. Yeah, but the knight could actually take the bishop at that point. I'm thinking potentially. Yeah, I'm thinking maybe it might be bishop g5. I'm looking at bishop g5. If g takes f5, bishop takes bishop g5, f takes g takes f5. Actually, he'll take with pawn takes. Yeah, that's right, because the pawn would take the knight, wouldn't it? So we're kind of because he's threatening d takes e6. He's threatening d takes e6. So we don't really have time to do much, but kind of basically attack. Interesting. Well, knight g7. Okay, knight g7, king g4, rook e4. King h2, bishop. Huh. And if king takes h2, we can actually mate him. Yeah, I'm liking knight g7. And bishop takes a rook. Nice. We'll go over why the other ones don't work. So, yeah. Yeah, he was in a pretty tight sitch. This doesn't work because here and there's really nothing more we can do, and it only benefits black. So we were looking at potentially here. He can actually take at this point, and then he's got a flight square here. I mean, g takes f5, then he's got a flight square there. Let me see here. If we tried here, he just plays d takes, and then now this is hanging. The bishop is hanging. If we tried something like this, the knight would take. If we tried our bishop here, then pawn takes knight, so that doesn't work. Let me see here. If we tried g3, g takes f, and he's got a flight square. And let me see, what else were we going to try here? What else do you? Okay. knight f4, and there's really nothing like here. He can actually just take with the knight. King e2, knight g1, and we go king f1, knight f3, and he's attacking our rook, and then we basically have to exchange here, and he's still better, so that actually doesn't work, because if we try to take, he's not going to move he's not going to take our rook, he'll just keep it there. Yeah, h3. So here, and the bishop g5 move was double esclam, nice. Rook f1 was actually what was played in the game, is played in one of the games. It's a mate in 11 though. So, because if you take, if he really can't, he could potentially turn into a queen, but if he does that, we pick off the there. And so let's say queen check, bishop takes. He could actually play knight c3 to take and try to get some passed pawns, maybe just to survive. Rook e check, if king takes, rook d3 to prepare getting our other pieces involved at this point. And maybe even getting a passer would be a good idea. So knight e2, king takes, and of course this gives him a flight square to flee to. Bishop f4. See, we're cutting off his in routes, so he's only got 2 squares to go to. And king g2, rook g3. Now he's only got he's still got 2 squares, but one of them is a discovery, which would be a very, very bad. So it doesn't matter really which one he plays, because then we check, and now we're now king h3, and then the king can come into f here, and then he comes up there, and then you mate. There you go. Well, I wanted to go over a game with you. This is from the Karen Cup. It's a it's a all women's championship thing. It's like a the Singfield Cup. This is Jeannie Singfield's one for the ladies. And this one was really interesting for me. I looked at it, and the thing was, White was actually losing for a little bit, and White had an opportunity to draw. But what happened was she overlooked the move. She got materialistic, and she fell for a skewer. And I'll show you this. I'll show you how it works. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, knight c3. So both, basically it's the 3 knights defense, or 4 knights defense now. And the 4 knights defense is, from what I've heard, really solid of an opening. It has a lot of lines in it. It has a lot of lines of preparation. d4, e takes d4, knight takes d4, and then b4. See, this is it's a Scotch game of the 4 knights. So the Scotch really isn't seen in the basically 2700 level, because it's very drawish for black. It's kind of like the Petrov. It's very drawish. The Scotch can end up being an either sharp line or a drawn line. If you know all the lines on how to handle it, the four knights Scotch is pretty drawish. So, and if you notice, the point difference of the competitors is about 52 points difference. So she's not worried about drawing, because she would be getting like 1 or 2 points. So, and B takes C. Now this allows for the fianchetto of the bishop on B7 with the preparation for C5 and D5 are potentially D5, and then if takes, we takes, we actually have a pretty good strong center. There's really no reason to castle as of yet. Some players do castle that are like solid, and this line it would be okay to do that because castling and then white castles. Now both sides are almost developed except for one bishop. So d5. Now this in my opinion is the one of the moves that starts the aggressive line. You do have another line that potentially can be played. E5 is a potential move that is sometimes played in the Scotch. It's to get a majority of an attack on the king side via f4, and then at the right moment you can play a3. And if with of course when your bishop's on d2, that's the main line. So this is okay. The knight would come back to d7 because he can't go here. He doesn't want to really go there. That blocks the e8 spot for the rook. So, and then this line now we just play f4, and if they try to chip away at our pawn via f5, you know, trying to kind of get to the king, I think this is a little risky in my opinion, because white would be more than happy to do that. Yes, we did open up a half open file, but this is still protected. We really don't have any weaknesses, so we're actually okay in that line. So e5 in my opinion might have been actually a really good. Let's see what the engine thinks. I'm thinking e5 might. Let's see what e5 is considered. I think it's a good move. Oh, maybe it's a bad move. Wow. So that must have been a so takes is good. Why is this? Oh, cuz it okay. Wow. Okay. Wow. That would not have been a very good move there. That would not be fun. Okay. He's forking the. So. You'd have to play here. Then you basically chip away. Okay. So the best line is actually taking here. And black does get though the two hanging pawns, so you have to always keep in mind the two hanging pawns are not the most appealing. In the middle game they're okay, but hanging pawns are very important to not keep around too long because they end up becoming a weakness in the end game. And then h3, e5, bishop f1. So, and then there we go. See, yeah, because she doesn't want to trade off. She wants to keep her majority in the center. Now that's under attack. And then there we go. Now we're threatening this here. Oops. That. Harry. Gotta love it. Going after the rook. Now the bishop's under fire, so. In theory, if you wanted to, you could go for a pawn. Where? Let me see. Oh, bishop c1. Oh, you're saying bishop g3 here. I think yeah, this is what the problem was. The pawn's being hung right here. You lose a pawn. You actually lose a pawn in that line. You're kind of forced. This is a forced move because otherwise you'd lose a g pawn. Now we take the bishop. So we have in this line we have the two bishops, which what's going to happen is black's going to want to play on the dark squares because white doesn't have a dark square bishop. You could do this, but I don't really like doing that because it surrenders a pawn back. So maybe it's okay, but I don't really like giving up my dark square bishop. So maybe it's all right. But white has a better pawn structure, so that's why Alexandria didn't play the takes to win a pawn, because you actually don't win a pawn. This c7 pawn is weak. Yeah, she was threatening a check so she can actually come in, check, and trade off and have a dark square bishop. Wow, look at that pressure being poured on. That's some heat right there. They just won a pawn, so takes. White's up, black's up a pawn now and going for a second. Now she's going after the rook, and the idea is she may try to go for g2 because that's now a vulnerable point. So that, yeah. But these pawns aren't very appealing either, so it's not. And the king's trapped, so it's like, whoa. So it's not a fun thing to do for sure, to have that happen. And if only for a light squared bishop, right? If only for a pawn here, this would be mate. If only we had another pawn here, somehow we could have something to block it, or maybe a knight here. Wouldn't for a knight here or here or there. For a knight there would be beautiful, because then we can play rook e3, knight takes, and then that would be, oops. If we had a knight like right here, here, or here, or here, or here, we could actually mate there, but nope. We just don't have that, so we can't really do that. A3, A4, I mean. Now this is more of a solid position. If she traded rooks off, I believe it would go more towards a win for white in this line now. It'd be a little hard to get the knight out, of course. She'd have to go here, 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 and then in here. Because all the pawns are on light squares, this bishop becomes very unattractive, and these pawns are all on dark squares, so white actually is better if there was a trade there. Yeah, this was a mistake. This was the mistake here. I want to. What was Starfish do? I want to let you, my friends, show the win of a material. This move wins. It wins material in 2. What's the move? Is it here? Is it here? Or is it, let me see, there? Is it, I'll just put circles around it. Is it rook takes h3, rook d8 or d1 check? Is it oops, sorry, I need to do c3. Sorry. Is it c6? What are the moves? Which one? And I'm gonna give you an opportunity to solve the puzzle that won. Right here. Okay. And you were right. And she resigned after this move. She resigned actually here. When she moved that and that check came, it was a resignation. But it was all based on if she had done this. If she had just come up the board. Just here. Instead of going there, if she had come up and let this pawn be taken, it would have been hard to have actually broken through, because the king could have come up and taken scope on the pawns. Well, we all miss time pressure, and she'd been playing for like 5 to 6 hours. So your mind does play tricks on you when you have that type of a sitch happen. So this would have actually been a better move, Yazzer said, and then infiltrating in, and potentially it would have ended in a draw, but a longer game, very long game. Okay, so we'll do one more puzzle. We'll see how long it takes us. Okie dokie. Let's go into our puzzles now. Okay, bye. Be blessed. Oops, sorry. Got it. I was gonna space. Oops. Cancel. That wasn't what I wanted. Good. There we go. This is what I wanted to do. There you go. I'm looking at potentially, there's bishop, there's a couple lines that can happen. Bishop takes f7, check. Or there's knight g5, that's an idea as well. Knight g5. Those are two ideas that potentially could be played. The only problem with knight g5 is he's got g6. Pawn g6. If bishop takes f7, check. King f8, and that's the end of our beautiful attack. Now let's take a look at bishop takes f7, check. King takes f7. Knight g5, check. But what do we do now? If he goes, what if he goes back? We do pick up the. I see what you're saying. We do pick up. Let's say king. King g6. I think he holds. That's kind of strange. Yeah, that is kind of peculiar. That does hold. Actually, the queen, I believe, wins in that line. This is actually what happens if we do that here. We play queen to g4. He's got queen takes g5. I believe he could actually take our knight in that line because it's protected by the king at that point. And attacked by the king and the queen at that point. Well, maybe not. No, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. You're right. It doesn't work. That erase that because I forgot the bishop covers that. If the queen took, then bishop takes g5 because and it's all over. Yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Okay. I'm thinking potentially knight g5. If g6, then you can actually play knight takes f7, and you pick up a piece. Or knight g5, castle. Oops, sorry. Castles, and then queen takes h5, but castles, I think, actually potentially would lose on, well, and if after we take he has h6. We're up a whole piece in that line though. I don't know if there's a need for us to sacrifice. He could, if we play knight g5 though, he does have knight f6, so he could actually come back. Oops, what the? I'm sorry about that. Knight g5, that's funny. Knight f6, there we go. Knight f6, so it might be well, then we can actually play knight takes f7 at that point. What do you guys think? Well, let me try to see how we're doing on it. I'll give you a second to think about it. Oh, you after that? Yeah, I'll just give you work out a whole entire line. Make sure it works. I'll be right back. let's take a quick look at this. So bishop takes. Oops. Oh, nice. So bishop takes, king takes, knight g5, king g there, king h6, and knight f7. Double check. Okay, mate. Bishop takes, king takes, g5, g6, g4, and then king f7. We win the knight on. Yeah. That is true. So that, let's see here. Okay, let's say king f8, king f8, and then queen takes h5. Okay. What is wrong with, I wanted to ask you, what's wrong with knight g5? If you were to say, what's the problem with knight g5? Why do you think that knight g5 really isn't a winning potential? Is it because of knight f6? I was just wondering. Is that kind of what you're thinking? Knight g5 is because of knight f6, and that's kind of the line, and we only win a pawn. Is that the kind of because we have to always look at like the most. I know that's the most forcing line, but we would only win a pawn in that line, I believe, because bishop. We could actually take with the knight at that point. See that's what I'm thinking about is knight takes f7 here because of the bishop. What's your opinion on that move? Knight g5. I'm just throwing that out there because we just have to try out. I was just looking to see if there's anything that he really can do besides move his knight back. If he plays f7, we drop our knight in there. We're forking a. We have a. We fork the bishop, the queen, and that. And we also will potentially win a rook. We haven't lost anything. And if he castles, then we win a knight. So I'm thinking that potentially might be the idea. I'm trying to look to see if there's anything else. He could try g6 at that point. We have all of our pawns. We have all of our pieces. Let's go with it. That's what I'm. Okay. Because there was no real. We didn't need to sack our bishop. Because I'll show you, and then we'll do one more unrated one. So, because that was kind of a scary. Let's see here, here, king g5, queen g4, I believe he probably could bishop f8. Okay. d5. Should be 4 check. Here he'd have to c3. Oh, king g8. No, I was this. If he comes up, it wins. But if he goes king g8, g6, queen g4. Yeah, we win a pawn. So we do win a pawn there. But if we played here, so knight f, yeah, this is what we were talking about. The knight takes, and that wins a rook. So queen f6 here, bishop g5. So the queen's trapped basically at this point. So if here, bishop g5, he's going to have to take. Bishop f6. Bishop g. Oops. No, it's not. Is it bishop g5? Yep, bishop g5. And then queen takes f7. Bishop takes, and then king takes. And then you can actually play bishop h6 here if you wanted to. So yeah. So we'll do one more, maybe a couple unrated puzzles. Just for fun. These are just for fun so that we can work them out and you know, not have to worry about time or loss of points or anything. These are just all for fun now. We'll do one more, and then I got a log. So let's do it to it. Oh right, so rook from d1 to d8, d4. So f to fork. But actually, it doesn't really fork because this one's protected by a pawn. It doesn't fork because the d4 rook's protected by a pawn. But actually, you're right. I'm sorry. It is a double attack. It's a double attack. You're right. Because what happens? I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Because queen f2, it attacks the rook on e1, the r on e1, and the b on e6 is attacked as well. So double attack. Yeah, it's a double attack. This is still being attacked here, and the rook's attacked here. So when they double up, we can actually still can potentially win a bishop as well. So let's see, queen f2, queen f2, bishop takes f7, king takes f7, queen takes h5. You could with after queen takes, queen f2, bishop takes f7, rook takes f7, rook d8, king g7, and I think we're safe to boot, because if he tries to take our pawn, we win his rook at that point. So he can't take our pawn because we win the rook. Let's just give it just one more check, and I believe it is right, but let's just see if there's anything else that our opponent can do. One sec, let me get a drink of water. Oh, much better. Okay, so queen f, because I'm sure we're going to play that line. I just want to make sure that there's no tricky lines. I don't see any tricky lines because queen f2 covers g3, queen check. So we're also attacking there. He has to take, we take. If he checks, we go up. Rook has to come over to d1, so rook e d1. And then we can just retreat our we can actually potentially play queen to e2 in that line too and cover the g5 pawn and then trade off queens. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Oh, I think it's bishop takes there. Okay. Yeah. Let's see why the other line doesn't work. rookie 3. Okay. We'll try one more line, and then we'll I gotta log because I want to get this one right. That's okay. This kind of reminds me of what's that called? It's when the bishop takes the queen. Legolas is made or something like that. He'll castle though. We don't have time for that. We have to be quick and speedy. See, bishop takes. See, bishop takes f7 check. King takes f7. Knight takes e5. Check. Knight takes e5. Queen takes h5. Check. But that's, I don't know if that's 100% on, so. Yeah. We could potentially play knight takes f5, and if knight takes e5, not f5, knight takes e5, and then queen takes h5. Oh, we win a pawn. We just, in that line, we just play queen takes h5. Oh, I have an idea. It's actually knight g5. Knight g5. Knight g5. If bishop takes g5, queen takes g5, and if bishop takes c1, queen takes f7 mate. We'll call it a day on that one. Okay. Hey, not a problem. Okay. Well, I wanted to thank you all for logging on. We did it. We crossed the 2400 marker, and we're selling right on past it. Great. Thank you for all the help. And also thank you for the raid, for coming in, also helping. You're cool. But we have to always remember that life is about treasuring your victories and learning from your losses. So you're always going to have at least you're going to lose sometimes, but it's how you handle the loss. Remember, mistakes happen. It doesn't define you. Remember, mistakes don't define you. It's how you handle the mistakes that define you. And so you have to remember that Tom Thumb was very wise in what he told Tango on that. And then we take 3 quotes from Bruce Lee, that there are no limits, there are plateaus, and you must not stay there. You must go beyond the plateaus that you're at and keep pushing forward, no matter how long it takes. But never forget that the Lord is the one who gives us our strength and everything. For He's the one that empowers us to be able to even think. And we have to take what we know, we have to apply it. Because knowing is not enough. You have to apply it. And willing to do something is not enough unless you do it. You have to do it. And like the talents, there were 3 people that were trusted. One was for 1 talent, one was for 2 talents, one was for 5 talents. The 1 talent was afraid and didn't invest their talents. They let the fear of what others thought of what they were doing. They let that interfere, and that one could have invested and made a 1 for the one who gave it to him as a steward. The 2 wasn't afraid and went out and made 2 more, and then the 5, who was entrusted with a lot of resources, went out and tilled the soil as always and made 5 more. But there's always a time when it comes to showing what you've done, because in that situation in chess, it's actually when you sit at the board, over the board, and you sit down, because the time will come, my friends, if you do have a tournament coming up, that you will have to perform at the board. And it's not if you're going to perform, it's how you're going to perform, because you need to you have to keep in mind that time keeps ticking no matter what we do. So it's better to be prepared than not prepared. And when the person came to see what they'd done with their talents, the one lost his talent and was basically kicked out, and the 10 was given that 1 because the 10 was ready. Like, you know what? When you if you take a whole tournament, let's say you have 6 games and you go 6-0, and somebody says, "Wow, you're lucky." No, no, no. You can say, "My friend, I'm not lucky. The Lord's good." First of all, that's the main thing. And you say this, "I had to put a lot of time in and a lot of work." So there's no luck in it. It's all about your due diligence and the sweat of the brow, and just putting in the time. And you, my chess friends, are putting in the time, so we're doing great. We have to remember that chess is about fun, and tactics are fun. So we got to sharpen. We always keep our blades sharpened, ready for battle, and that's our tactical understanding. And we have to keep our eyes focused on the prize, which is victory at the board. It doesn't matter who you're facing. So just keep that in mind. Doesn't matter who it is, and you play the board and you win or you draw. And even if you lose, let's say you gave it your best, but the person that you played knew a little bit more. You know what? As long as you give it 100%, it's you can learn from it. Okay. And what we always do, we hang up our coat, we hang up our hat, we sit down and study when most won't. We do. And that makes all the difference at the board. That's Wesley So says for the Lord Jesus. As I say, God bless, and I'll see you guys next time on Chess Cruncher TV. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, evening, and Lord willing, I'll be back on tomorrow. And we'll keep pushing forward onward to 2,500. Great job. Go Team Chess Cruncher. And onward and upward. Excellent. Keep studying and having fun in chess. Be blessed, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.